The photo hit my phone at 11:43 at night while my wife was standing 10 feet away from me brushing her teeth. I still remember the exact sound the notification made because my entire life split in half right after it. 1 second I was sitting in bed half watching some stupid Netflix documentary while waiting for Ava to finish getting ready for sleep. The next second I was staring at a message from an unknown number with a single image attached. No text. No explanation. Just the photo. At first my brain didn't even process what I was looking at. Luxury hotel room. City lights through massive windows. A man sitting shirtless on the edge of a bed holding a whiskey glass. And my wife standing beside him in nothing but one of his dress shirts. Smiling. Not posed. Not caught off guard. Comfortable. Intimate. Like she belonged there. My chest physically tightened so hard I thought I was having a heart attack. I zoomed in automatically, desperate to prove it wasn't her. But it was Ava. Same blonde hair. Same small scar near her shoulder. Same wedding ring still sitting on her finger while she leaned against another man's hotel bed. My breathing stopped. Literally stopped. And then I noticed the man. I recognized him instantly. Daniel Mercer. Her boss. CEO of the company she worked for. 50-something. Rich. Married. The kind of guy constantly photographed at charity events with politicians and celebrities. The kind of guy who sent my wife flowers after her promotion 6 months ago. The same promotion that changed everything. The bathroom door opened suddenly and Ava walked out wearing one of my old t-shirts, drying her hair with a towel. "You're still awake?" she asked casually. I looked up at her slowly, and for the first time in 7 years together, I didn't recognize her face, because now every little thing looked different. The late nights, the sudden gym obsession, the expensive perfume she claimed was from a coworker, the networking dinners. Jesus Christ. She climbed into bed beside me without noticing my expression, still scrolling through emails on her phone. Normal. Completely normal. That was the terrifying part. "How was your dinner?" I heard myself ask. She sighed dramatically. "Exhausting." Daniel kept changing numbers last minute before tomorrow's presentation. Daniel. She said his name naturally, comfortably, like she hadn't just been half naked beside him in a hotel room. I stared at her while something ugly started building inside my chest. "What restaurant did you go to?" She frowned slightly, still typing. "What? For dinner?" "Oh." She tucked wet hair behind her ear. "That Italian place downtown. Bella Rosa." I knew it immediately because Bella Rosa closed at 10 and it was almost midnight when she got home. But she said it so smoothly, so effortlessly, like she'd practiced. "Was it good?" "Pretty decent, actually." Another lie stacked on top of the first one without hesitation. I looked back down at the photo again while she wasn't paying attention. There was a timestamp in the corner. 9:14 p.m. Tonight, while she was supposedly eating pasta with coworkers. My stomach turned violently. "You okay?" she asked suddenly. I looked up too fast. "Yeah. You look pale." Imagine that. I forced a small laugh. "Probably tired." She studied me for another second before nodding and plugging her phone into the charger. Then she kissed my cheek. Actually kissed me. "I'm gonna sleep," she murmured softly. And within minutes, she rolled over and closed her eyes like nothing in the world was wrong. Meanwhile, I sat there staring at the ceiling, feeling like my brain was separating from my body. Because there's cheating, and then there's this. This wasn't random. This wasn't drunk. This wasn't a mistake. You don't end up half-dressed in a luxury hotel suite with your billionaire boss by accident. This had history, routine, comfort, which meant the worst part wasn't the photo. The worst part was realizing I had no idea how long my marriage had already been dead. I looked over at Ava sleeping beside me peacefully, and suddenly every memory from the last year started replaying differently. The promotion, that's where it started changing. Before that, we were good. Not perfect, but real. Friday takeout nights. Weekend trips. Dumb arguments about laundry and groceries. Normal marriage stuff. Then Daniel promoted her to senior operations director. Everything changed after that. At first I was proud of her. Hell, I bragged about her to everybody. She earned it, I tell people. She's the smartest person in that company. And maybe she was. But after the promotion came the travel, the dinners, the constant texting, the expensive dresses she suddenly needed for corporate events. Then came the distance. Not obvious at first, just small things. She stopped touching me absent-mindedly, stopped laughing at my dumb jokes, started bringing her phone into the bathroom. And every time I noticed something felt off, she had an explanation ready immediately. Work stress, pressure, big clients. I believed all of it because trusting your wife is supposed to be normal. Now I felt like the dumbest man alive. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. This time there was text. She tells you she works late every Thursday. Ask her where she really goes. I stared at the message while my pulse hammered in my ears. Who the hell was sending this? Another message appeared instantly. You deserve to know who your wife really is. Then nothing. I looked over at Ava again, sleeping peacefully beside me, one arm tucked under her pillow, wedding ring catching faint light from the TV. And suddenly something hit me harder than the cheating itself. Humiliation, because somebody out there knew. Somebody had watched this happen long enough to collect evidence, which meant I was probably the last person figuring it out. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the photo again. Her smiling beside him, comfortable, happy. Around 4 in the morning, Ava shifted beside me and reached for me instinctively in her sleep, resting one hand lightly against my chest. That almost broke me completely, because muscle memory doesn't disappear overnight. Some part of her still moved toward me automatically, and somehow that made the betrayal feel even more personal. By morning, I'd made one decision. I wasn't confronting her yet, not until I understood how deep this actually went. Because if Ava had been lying for months, then I couldn't trust anything anymore. Not her schedule, not her stories, not even the version of our marriage living in my own head. So I played normal. That was the hardest part. Making coffee while she stood beside me in silk pajamas like we were still us. Listening to her complain about work deadlines while knowing exactly who she'd probably spent the night with mentally. "You're quiet today," she said while grabbing her purse. "Just tired." She walked over and kissed me again. I almost flinched. "You sure?" "Yeah." Then came the sentence that changed everything. "I'll probably be late tonight too." There it was. Another late night. Another lie. And this time I noticed something I somehow missed before. She wouldn't look directly at me when she said it. Tiny. Almost invisible. But once you see deception clearly, you start seeing all the cracks. "What's tonight?" I asked carefully. "Client prep dinner. With Daniel." Her eyes flicked up instantly, just for half a second. Too fast for most people to notice. But I noticed now. "Yeah," she answered casually. Unfortunately. I nodded slowly, then smiled. "Good luck." She smiled back, grabbed her keys, and left. The second the front door closed, I opened my laptop. Because if my wife was really having an affair with one of the richest CEOs in the city, there was absolutely no way the story ended with just one photo. The first thing I checked was our shared credit card statements. Not because I thought Ava was stupid enough to put hotel charges on our account. Because people get lazy when they think you trust them. And apparently, I trusted her enough to never look. I sat at the kitchen counter with my laptop open while cold coffee slowly went untouched beside me. The house felt wrong without her there. Too quiet. Like even the walls knew something had shifted overnight. For almost 20 minutes, I found nothing unusual. Groceries, gas, Target, normal life. Then I noticed a pattern. Every second or third Thursday night over the last 8 months, Ava had a rideshare charge between 10:30 and midnight. Not from her office, from downtown, near the Mercer Grand Hotel. My chest tightened instantly. The Mercer Grand wasn't just any hotel. It belonged to Daniel Mercer. Of course it did. I stared at the transactions while anger slowly spread through me like poison, because suddenly all those late client dinners became measurable, trackable, real. And once I noticed the Thursdays, other things started appearing too. Spa charges I never heard about, boutique purchases way outside her normal spending habits, plane tickets purchased separately from company travel bookings. Everything looked small individually. Together, it looked like a second relationship. I leaned back in the chair slowly, rubbing both hands over my face. How long? I whispered to myself. 8 months? A year? Longer? My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Another photo. This one almost made me throw up. Ava sitting in the passenger seat of Daniel's black Mercedes with her hand resting on his thigh. Timestamp. 3 months ago. I stared at it while my pulse pounded in my neck. Then came another message. She tells you she stays at Emily's house during conferences. Ask Emily. That stopped me cold. Because Emily was Ava's best friend. Or at least I thought she was. My stomach twisted as another realization hit me. Whoever was sending these new details. Not rumors. Specific lies. Specific timelines. This wasn't random revenge. This was someone close. Very close. I grabbed my phone immediately and called Emily before I could overthink it. She answered on the third ring. "Hey stranger," she said cheerfully. "Everything okay?" I swallowed hard. "Yeah, random question. What's up?" I stared at the countertop while choosing my words carefully. "Ava mentioned she stayed with you during that conference in Miami last month." Silence. Tiny. But there. Then Emily laughed softly. "No, she didn't." Every muscle in my body tightened instantly. "What? She didn't stay with me?" Emily repeated. "I haven't seen Ava in like 2 months." The room tilted slightly. Because Miami. Jesus Christ. Miami was supposed to be a women's leadership conference. Ava sent me pictures from panels, networking events, beachside drinks with coworkers. All fake. Every single thing. "You okay?" Emily asked carefully. I forced myself to breathe normally. "Yeah, sorry. I think I mixed up the trips." But Emily had gone quiet now. Too quiet. Then softly, "Ryan, is something going on?" I looked toward the front door instinctively even though I was alone. And for the first time since receiving the photo, I almost told someone. Almost. But shame stopped me. Humiliation. Because saying it out loud would make it real. "Nah," I lied weakly. Just confused. Emily didn't sound convinced. But she let it go. After we hung up, I sat motionless for a long time. Because now I knew 2 things for certain. Ava was lying. And somebody desperately wanted me to find out. I should have confronted her right there. Any normal person probably would have. But something darker had started building inside me. I needed to understand the full picture first. Because the cheating suddenly felt bigger than cheating. Too organized. Too expensive. Too hidden. And the anonymous messages kept implying there was more. A lot more. So instead of calling Ava, I drove to her office. Her company headquarters sat downtown inside one of those giant glass buildings that make everybody walking in feel richer than they actually are. I parked across the street and stared up at it while traffic moved around me. Ava used to love this place. I remembered how excited she was when she got hired. How proud she looked walking into that building in her first tailored suit while I stood outside taking pictures for her mother. Now all I could think about was Daniel Mercer touching her inside some penthouse suite. My jaw tightened violently. Around 6:30, employees started pouring out onto the sidewalks. Groups laughing. People carrying laptops. Normal office life. Then I saw Ava. My chest instantly tightened. She walked out beside Daniel. Not too close. Not touching. Professional. If I hadn't received those photos, I probably wouldn't have noticed anything. But now every movement screamed intimacy. The way she tilted her head toward him when listening. The way he looked at her before speaking. Tiny unconscious things people only do when they know each other privately. I watched them cross the sidewalk together while rage crawled slowly through my veins. Then Daniel touched the small of her back, just briefly, guiding her toward his car. That tiny touch confirmed everything, because it wasn't workplace behavior. It was ownership. Ava looked around quickly before getting into his Mercedes. And for the first time all day, I felt something inside me snap. I started the engine immediately, and followed them. They drove through downtown traffic casually, like this was routine, because it probably was. I stayed 3 cars behind while my brain fought between heartbreak and pure fury. Finally, Daniel pulled into the underground entrance of the Mercer Grand Hotel. Of course, the same hotel from the photos, the same hotel carrying his name. My grip tightened painfully around the steering wheel as the valet greeted them both by name. By name. That meant this wasn't secret to everybody. Staff recognized them, probably watched them together for months, maybe longer. Ava laughed at something Daniel said before they disappeared inside. And suddenly I realized something horrifying. She looked happier with him than she'd looked with me in a year. That realization hurt more than the sex, more than the lies, because I recognized that smile. That was Ava before our marriage got routine, before bills and schedules and real life. Daniel wasn't getting the exhausted version of my wife. He was getting the curated version, the exciting version, the version she stopped giving me. I sat there gripping the wheel while humiliation burned through my chest. Then my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. This time there was a video. My stomach dropped before I even opened it. Security camera footage. Hotel hallway. Timestamp from 2 weeks earlier. Ava laughing while Daniel unlocked a penthouse suite. Then she kissed him before they walked inside. Not a drunk accidental kiss. Not hesitant. Passionate. Familiar. My vision blurred for a second, because no matter how prepared you think you are, seeing your wife kiss another man changes something physical inside you. Another message arrived beneath the video. You still think this is just an affair? I frowned immediately. What the hell did that mean? Then came the final text. Check your savings account. Cold fear slid through me instantly. I opened my banking app so fast I almost dropped the phone. And the moment the numbers loaded, my entire body went numb. Almost $80,000 was gone. At first I thought the banking app glitched, because your brain refuses to accept certain things immediately. $80,000 doesn't just disappear. Not from normal people. Not from couples with mortgages and retirement plans and shared grocery lists. I refreshed the page 3 times. Same number. My stomach dropped harder with every second. I opened the transaction history with shaking hands. Wire transfers. Large ones. Over the last 4 months. Carefully spaced apart. 10,000 here. 15 there. 8, 12. Never large enough at once to trigger panic. Just enough to slowly bleed the account dry without immediate attention. And every transfer had one thing in common. Authorization. Ava Whitmore. I physically stopped breathing, because cheating destroys trust. But stealing? Stealing means planning. My chest tightened violently as I scrolled faster through the account history. More withdrawals. Private investment transfers I'd never heard about. Then I noticed something that made the blood drain from my face completely. One of the receiving accounts was under Mercer Holdings. Daniel's company. No way, I whispered. No. No. This wasn't some affair anymore. This was something else entirely. I looked back toward the hotel entrance where Ava and Daniel disappeared less than 10 minutes earlier. And suddenly every anonymous message started feeling less like revenge and more like a warning. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. She told him everything about your finances. Then another, including the lake house your father left you. I felt cold all over instantly, because almost nobody knew about the lake house. Not even most friends. Just family. And Ava. The property technically belonged only to me after my father died 2 years earlier. Ava's name wasn't connected to it legally, but she knew its value. Everyone did. Lakefront property 3 hours outside the city. Paid off completely. Worth over $1 million now. Another text appeared. Ask her why she suddenly wants you to refinance it. My heart started pounding so hard I could hear it. Because 3 weeks ago, Ava brought up refinancing. Casually. Over dinner. She framed it like a smart financial move. We could leverage the equity, she said. Daniel thinks the market's perfect right now. Daniel thinks. Jesus Christ. At the time, it sounded reasonable. Now it sounded terrifying. I leaned back against the seat, trying not to spiral. Had they been planning this together? Was I just some temporary husband they were draining slowly before she left? The thought made rage rise so fast it almost blurred my vision. But underneath the anger was something worse. Embarrassment. Because I'd trusted her completely. Every signature, every account, every financial decision. I trusted her because she was my wife. Meanwhile, she was apparently discussing our assets with the man she was sleeping with. My phone rang suddenly. Ava. I stared at the screen while my pulse hammered in my ears. Then I answered. Hey babe, she said warmly. Warmly. Like she wasn't upstairs in a hotel owned by the man currently destroying our marriage. Hey, you sound weird. Long day. I heard muffled voices behind her. Mine too. I closed my eyes briefly, because now every little sound felt loaded. Was Daniel standing beside her right now? Were they drinking together while she lied to me casually over speakerphone? You still at dinner? I asked carefully. Unfortunately. Smooth. Immediate. I gripped the steering wheel harder. What time do you think you'll be home? Probably another hour. Another lie. I looked up at the massive hotel windows glowing against the night sky. You with Daniel now? Tiny pause. There it was again. That microscopic hesitation. Yeah. How's he doing after the board meeting? I made that up completely. There was no board meeting today. Ava answered instantly anyway. Stressed. Got you. The lie came too naturally, like she'd been rehearsing fake conversations for months. You know how he gets. Actually, no. I apparently didn't know anything. I stared at the hotel entrance while something dark settled inside me. Because now I wasn't trying to confirm the affair anymore. Now I was trying to understand how much of my entire life had been manipulated. Well, I said quietly, be safe. I will. Then softer. Love you. The words hit me like a punch to the throat. Because she still said them automatically. And maybe that was the sickest part. I almost wondered if she believed them herself. You too, I whispered back, then hung up. For a long time I just sat there staring at the glowing hotel. Traffic moved around me. People laughed outside restaurants nearby. Normal life kept happening while mine collapsed in slow motion. Then my phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't the anonymous number. It was my brother, Jason. I almost ignored it, but something inside me suddenly needed another human voice. Yo! Jason answered immediately. You alive? Yeah. You sound like shit. I laughed weakly. Jason paused. What happened? I stared through the windshield for a second before speaking. If you found out someone betrayed you completely. Jason's voice sharpened instantly. What kind of betrayal? I swallowed hard. My wife kind. Silence. Then, what? I rubbed a hand over my face. I think Ava's cheating on me. You think? I have photos. Jason went dead quiet. Then I heard movement on his end like he stood up immediately. Where are you? Downtown. With her. She's inside a hotel with her boss. The silence after that felt dangerous. Because Jason never liked Daniel. From the very beginning. He's married, Jason said slowly. Apparently that's not stopping anybody. Ryan. I already knew that tone. The protective older brother tone. Don't do anything stupid. I'm not. You sound exactly like somebody about to do something stupid. I looked toward the hotel again. Did you know, I whispered, that 80 grand disappeared from our savings account? That shut him up instantly. What? I think they've been moving money. Call the bank right now. I will. No. Ryan listened to me carefully. His voice turned serious instantly. You need to protect yourself immediately. Protect yourself. That phrase changed something in my head. Because until now, emotionally devastated husband was the dominant feeling. But suddenly another reality started forming. Legal, financial, strategic. If Ava and Daniel were actually planning something bigger, then heartbreak was the least dangerous part of this. I think someone's helping me, I said quietly. What? The anonymous texts, photos, banking warnings. I looked down at my phone. Whoever it is knows everything. Jason cursed under his breath. Could be Daniel's wife. I froze. Holy shit. I hadn't even thought about her. Daniel Mercer had been married over 20 years. Society wife type. Charity galas. Magazine interviews. What if she found out too? The idea suddenly made terrifying sense. Access. Resources. Knowledge. Maybe she'd been watching this longer than I had. Another text arrived before I could think further. Unknown number.
Pantouz suite 3408.
If you want the truth, go now. I stared at the message while adrenaline surged through my body instantly. Jason was still talking on the phone. Ryan? You there? Room 3408. The exact room. The exact place my wife was currently with another man. Everything inside me screamed to go upstairs. To confront them. To destroy the illusion immediately. But another part of me whispered something colder. If I walked into that room angry, I'd lose control. And right now control was the only thing I had left. Jason heard my silence instantly. What are you thinking? I looked toward the hotel entrance again, then slowly reached for the door handle. I said quietly, I'm done being the last person who doesn't know what's happening in my own marriage. The Mercer Grand smelled like money. That's the first thing I noticed walking through the lobby. Expensive cologne, polished marble, fresh flowers probably replaced every morning by staff who made more money arranging roses than I did in a week. The kind of hotel where everybody looks important even when they aren't. I stood near the entrance pretending to check my phone while my pulse hammered so hard I thought people around me could hear it. Room 3408, penthouse level. My wife was upstairs with another man while I stood downstairs trying not to completely lose my mind. A concierge smiled politely as I passed. Good evening, sir. I nodded automatically. Everything felt surreal, like I'd accidentally walked into somebody else's life. I moved toward the elevators carefully, watching people come and go through mirrored walls and gold lighting. Then I saw them. Not Ava. Daniel. He stepped out of the hotel bar alone, laughing at something a younger guy in a suit said beside him. Completely relaxed. Completely comfortable. The sight of him made something violent flare inside my chest instantly, because this man knew who I was. He'd shaken my hand before, twice. Once at a company holiday party. Another time at some charity event Ava dragged me to last year. He smiled at me, asked about my job, acted like he respected me while secretly sleeping with my wife. That level of arrogance almost made me black out with rage. Daniel checked his watch while still talking to the younger guy. Then he headed toward the elevators. Alone. My stomach tightened instantly. Where was Ava? I waited 3 seconds before following. The elevator doors opened and Daniel stepped inside without noticing me approaching. I slipped in just before the doors closed. The second the elevator started moving, silence swallowed the space between us. Daniel glanced over casually at first. Then his expression changed. Recognition, not panic. Recognition. And somehow that was worse. Because he looked at me like a problem he already expected eventually. Ryan, he said smoothly. That calm tone almost shattered my self-control instantly. Daniel. He adjusted his cufflinks slightly. Didn't expect to see you here. I stared directly at him. Really? Tiny pause. Barely noticeable. But it was there. Then came the corporate smile. Controlled. Polished. What's going on? The audacity nearly made me laugh. What's going on? I repeated quietly. His eyes studied me carefully now, measuring, calculating. Then he sighed softly, and that's when I knew. He knew I knew. You should lower your voice, he said calmly. This isn't the place. My vision actually blurred for a second. Not the place. That's what he was worried about. Not destroying my marriage. Not sleeping with my wife. Hotel etiquette. I stepped closer. You've got about 5 seconds before I forget how elevators work. He didn't flinch. Didn't even look nervous. That terrified me more than fear would've. Because men who stay calm in situations like this usually believe they still have control. Where's Ava? I asked. Daniel looked at the glowing floor numbers above us before answering. Not here. But immediate lie. I laughed harshly under my breath. You're bad at this. No, he said quietly. You're emotional. The sentence hit harder than yelling would've. Because it was cold. Strategic. Designed to make me react. And suddenly I understood why Ava got pulled into his orbit. Daniel Mercer didn't behave like normal people. Everything about him felt calculated. Even now. Especially now. You think this is just an affair? He continued calmly. I stared at him in disbelief. Just. I'm saying you don't understand the full situation. The elevator dinged. Penthouse floor. The doors slid open slowly. Daniel stepped out first, then looked back at me. If you want the truth, he said quietly, come with me. Every instinct screamed not to follow him. But I did anyway. The penthouse hallway was silent except for the muted hum of the city through giant windows at the end of the corridor. Daniel walked casually toward room 3408 like this was another business meeting. Meanwhile, my entire body buzzed with adrenaline. Finally, he stopped outside the suite, then unlocked the door. My chest tightened so hard it hurt. I was about to walk directly into the place where my wife had been betraying me for months. Maybe longer. Daniel pushed the door open slowly. After you. I stepped inside, and immediately froze, because Ava wasn't there. The suite was empty. Whiskey glasses sat on the counter. A woman's heels near the couch. Soft jazz still playing through hidden speakers. But no Ava. I turned instantly toward Daniel. Where is she? He closed the door behind us carefully. Gone. Bullshit. She left 20 minutes ago. I stared at him while rage and confusion collided violently inside my chest. Then I noticed something on the coffee table. Folder. My name written across the front. Cold fear spread through me immediately. What is that? Daniel loosened his tie slightly before answering. It's why you're really here. I didn't move. Didn't blink. My instincts screamed that something was deeply wrong now. Not emotionally wrong. Dangerous wrong. Daniel walked toward the bar area and poured himself a drink calmly. You should sit down. Go to hell. He nodded faintly like he expected that. Then he took a sip of whiskey and looked directly at me. Ava wasn't planning to leave you for me. The sentence stopped me cold. What? She was planning to leave you with nothing. My pulse thundered in my ears. Daniel gestured toward the folder. Open it. Every muscle in my body tightened as I stepped closer slowly. Inside were printed documents, bank statements, property transfer drafts, legal paperwork. At first it didn't make sense. Then I saw my signature, or something pretending to be my signature. My stomach dropped violently. What the hell is this? Daniel watched me carefully. Ava's been preparing financial separation documents for months. No. She forged portions of your authorization paperwork. I looked through the pages faster now, panic rising with every sheet. Power of attorney drafts, refinancing requests, investment transfer approvals, some already partially processed. My chest tightened painfully. She told you I was helping her steal from you. I looked up sharply. Weren't you? For the first time all night, Daniel actually looked offended. She used me too. I stared at him, then laughed once in disbelief. Oh wow, the guy sleeping with my wife feels manipulated. His jaw tightened slightly. There are things you don't know. Then explain them. He stared into his drink for a long second before answering. I ended things with Ava 2 weeks ago. That hit me unexpectedly. What? She became reckless. My brain struggled to process the sentence. Reckless how? Daniel walked toward the window overlooking the city. She started talking about leaving you permanently. He glanced back at me. She expected financial support. The room suddenly felt colder. I told her no. I stared at him while another horrible realization formed. Wait! Daniel nodded slowly. She's been recording conversations. Every nerve in my body tightened instantly. What? She threatened to expose the affair publicly if I cut her off completely.
Jesus Christ.
The room tilted slightly, because suddenly this wasn't just betrayal anymore. This was escalation, manipulation, planning, and somehow the image I had of Ava kept getting worse. She wanted money, Daniel said quietly. A lot of it. I shook my head slowly.
No.
But deep down, I was starting to remember things. Ava suddenly obsessing over luxury homes online. Her fixation on investment accounts. The weird questions about life insurance policies. My stomach turned violently. Daniel watched my face carefully. You really had no idea who your wife became. That sentence hurt because part of me already feared it was true. Then suddenly, the penthouse suite door beeped, unlocked from outside. Both of us turned instantly, and Ava walked in. The second she saw me standing there, all the color drained from her face. For one frozen second, nobody moved. Ava stood just inside the penthouse doorway holding her purse while her eyes bounced rapidly between me and Daniel like her brain physically couldn't process how both of us ended up in the same room. Then came the fear. Real fear. Not guilt. Not sadness. Fear. Because whatever story she'd been controlling just collapsed instantly. Ryan, she whispered. Hearing my name in her voice almost made me sick. I stared at her while everything inside me twisted violently between heartbreak and rage. Because even now, even after everything, part of me still loved her. And that was the most humiliating part of all. Ava looked toward Daniel sharply. What did you do? Interesting. Not what's going on. Not confusion. Immediate blame. Daniel calmly set his whiskey glass down. You underestimated how long lies survive under pressure. Don't do this, Ava snapped. That sentence changed the entire energy in the room. Because suddenly I wasn't looking at my wife anymore. I was looking at someone calculating damage. Ava stepped farther inside slowly, eyes locking onto the folder sitting open on the coffee table. And the moment she saw the documents, her face changed. Completely. The softness vanished. No pretending now. No sweet voice. No concerned wife act. Just cold panic underneath controlled breathing. You went through my things? She asked Daniel quietly. My legal team did. Legal team.
Jesus Christ.
These people lived in an entirely different world than mine. Ava looked back at me quickly. Ryan, listen to me carefully. No. I cut in instantly. You listen. My voice sounded strange even to myself. Sharper. Harder. You stole from me. It's not what you think. I actually laughed. Because somehow every cheating person on earth says the exact same line eventually. Then explain $80,000 disappearing. Her eyes flickered slightly. Tiny movement. But enough. It was temporary. Temporary. My vision blurred for a second from pure anger. You forged my signatures. That's not true. I grabbed the paperwork off the table instantly and held it up. Then what the hell is this? For the first time since walking in, Ava looked genuinely cornered. And instead of answering me, she looked at Daniel. Hatred.
Pure atred.
That told me everything. Daniel was the one who exposed her. Not because he cared about me, because their relationship exploded first. I suddenly understood the anonymous messages. Daniel's wife never sent them. He did, or somebody connected to him did. Not to help me, to protect himself. The realization made my stomach twist again. Everybody in this story was using everybody else. Ava crossed her arms tightly. You told him everything? Daniel's expression stayed calm. You threatened me. You promised me. I promised nothing. The tension between them felt ugly now. Not romantic. Not passionate. Transactional. Like two people whose fantasy collapsed under real consequences. And suddenly I saw the affair differently. This wasn't some epic love story. This was greed mixed with ego and lust. That's all. My wife wasn't standing here because she fell hopelessly in love. She was standing here because she wanted more. More money. More luxury. More excitement. And Daniel? He wanted someone younger who made him feel powerful. That realization somehow hurt worse than romance would have. Because it made everything feel cheap. Ava looked back at me again, softer this time. Ryan, I was going to tell you. No, you weren't. I was. When? My voice cracked louder. After refinancing my father's house? After draining every account we had? Tears filled her eyes instantly. And years ago, that would have destroyed me. Tonight, I couldn't even tell if they were real anymore. You don't understand how unhappy I've been, she whispered. There it was. The justification. Always the justification. I stared at her in disbelief. So instead of leaving, you robbed me? That's not fair. Fair. My voice echoed through the suite so sharply even Ava flinched. Because fairness ended the moment she started building another life behind my back. I gave you everything I had, I said quietly now. Every version of me. Every plan. Every future. Ava wiped tears from her face angrily. You stopped seeing me years ago. The sentence hit unexpectedly hard. Not because it excused anything. Because some tiny part of me feared there might be truth buried inside it. Marriage does become routine. Life becomes repetitive. Bills. Work. Exhaustion. Maybe I did stop noticing certain things. But betrayal wasn't the answer. And deep down she knew that too. Daniel interrupted coldly. This conversation is pointless now. Ava rounded on him instantly. You ruined everything. No, he said calmly. Your greed did. The word greed visibly hit her. Because it was true. And everyone in the room knew it. Ava laughed bitterly through tears. Oh, please. You think you're innocent. Daniel said nothing. She stepped closer toward him now, anger replacing panic. You promised me protection. I promised discretion. You said you'd help me. You became unstable. The way he said it made my skin crawl. Cold. Clinical. Like reviewing a failed business deal. Ava looked shattered by that response. And suddenly I realized something horrifying. She actually believed Daniel cared about her. Maybe not fully. Maybe not rationally. But enough to gamble her entire life on him. And now he was discarding her like damaged paperwork. For the first time all night, pitted her. Just a little. Then Ava turned toward me again. And what she said next destroyed that sympathy instantly. You think you're innocent in this marriage? She snapped.
Isterta here.
What? You made it easy. My jaw tightened slowly. Careful. No, you want honesty? Fine. Her breathing shook now. You became predictable. Safe. Every day felt exactly the same. The words sliced deeper than I expected. Because she wasn't attacking my failures. She was attacking stability itself. I was your husband. You were comfortable. The room went silent. And suddenly I understood something terrifying about people like Ava. They don't destroy stable lives because they're trapped. They destroy them because stability eventually stops feeling exciting. Daniel watched silently near the window while Ava spiraled emotionally in front of both of us. You know what it felt like walking into rooms with him? She whispered. Luxury hotels. Private events. Real power. There it was. The truth. Not love. Power. Status. Fantasy. I looked at the woman I married and barely recognized her anymore. Maybe this version always existed underneath. Maybe I just never wanted to see it. Then Ava said the sentence that finally killed whatever remained inside me. I was tired of feeling average. Silence. Heavy silence. Because suddenly everything made sense. The money. The secrecy, the obsession with status. She didn't just cheat because she wanted another man. She cheated because she wanted another life. And I was the old life, the ordinary life. I stared at her for a long time, then slowly removed my wedding ring. Ava's expression cracked instantly. Ryan! I placed the ring gently onto the coffee table beside the forged documents, right between us. You should have just left, I said quietly. And for the first time that night, Ava started crying for real. Ava cried harder the second the wedding ring hit the glass table. Not dramatic movie crying, not fake sobbing, real panic, because reality finally became physical. That ring sitting between us meant the fantasy was over. No more balancing two lives. No more manipulating timelines. No more pretending she could keep one foot in luxury and the other in safety. For a few seconds, nobody spoke. The city lights behind Daniel stretched endlessly through the penthouse windows, while jazz music still played softly in the background like the room itself hadn't realized 3 lives were imploding inside it. Then Ava looked at me with tears running down her face. Please don't do this. I actually stared at her in disbelief. Don't do this? Like I was the one detonating the marriage. You already did, I said quietly. She shook her head immediately. Ryan, I swear to God, this got out of control. I laughed once under my breath. That's your defense? No, she stepped closer desperately. You don't understand how it started. I honestly don't care anymore. I was lonely. There it is again. The excuse. Always loneliness. Always feeling unseen. Never accountability. Ava's breathing became uneven now. You checked out of this marriage long before I did. That sentence would have destroyed me yesterday. Tonight, it just sounded like someone trying to survive consequences. Then you leave, I snapped. You don't rob somebody while sleeping with your boss. Daniel interrupted calmly from behind us. You should stop talking. Ava turned instantly. Shut up. The hatred in her voice shocked even me. Because suddenly the attraction between them was gone completely. No chemistry left. No romance. Just damage. Daniel looked exhausted now. Older somehow. Like the polished billionaire image cracked slightly under actual exposure. Ava, he said carefully. You threatened my family. You ruined mine first. I told you this couldn't continue. You told me you loved me. Silence. That sentence landed heavily in the suite. I looked toward Daniel slowly, and for the first time all night, he looked uncomfortable. Not guilty. Caught. Ava laughed bitterly through tears. See? Now you don't know what to say. My stomach twisted violently, because despite everything, I suddenly understood the emotional disaster underneath all this. Ava really did fall into the fantasy. Maybe it started as excitement. Maybe money. Maybe attraction. But somewhere along the line she convinced herself this would become a real future. And Daniel? He was never leaving his wife. Never risking his empire. Ava wasn't a future to him. She was an escape. A distraction. And now she was finally realizing it. You used me, she whispered. Daniel sighed softly. No. I warned you. Oh my God. Ava laughed again, almost hysterically now. You rich people really are insane. I stepped backward slowly from both of them, because suddenly I felt disconnected from the entire room. Like I was watching strangers destroy each other. Maybe they always were strangers. Maybe the version of Ava I loved stopped existing a long time ago. Or maybe she never existed at all. Then my phone buzzed. Jason. I answered automatically. Where are you? He demanded immediately. Hotel. You still there? Yeah. Ryan. Get out of there right now. I frowned slightly. Why? Then I heard police sirens outside. Distant at first, but getting louder fast. Daniel heard them too. His expression changed instantly. Sharp. Alert. What did you do? Ava whispered. Daniel looked toward the windows immediately, then toward me, then back at Ava. Nobody move, he said quietly. That reaction alone made adrenaline explode through my chest. "What's happening?" I asked. Nobody answered. The sirens got louder, closer. Then suddenly, Daniel's phone started blowing up with calls. One after another. Board members, executives, names flashing rapidly across the screen. For the first time all night, Daniel Mercer looked genuinely nervous. Ava stared at him in confusion. "Daniel!" He ignored her completely, answering one of the calls immediately. "What happened?" Silence while somebody spoke rapidly on the other end. Then all color drained from Daniel's face. "That's impossible." My pulse quickened instantly, because powerful men only look scared when something truly catastrophic happens. Daniel turned away slightly, lowering his voice. "No one was supposed to." He stopped abruptly. Too late. I heard enough. Ava heard it too. And suddenly her expression changed from heartbreak to panic. "What did you do?" she whispered again. Daniel hung up slowly, then looked directly at me. And for the first time since meeting him, his composure cracked completely. There's no clean way to explain this now. Cold fear spread through my body instantly. "What are you talking about?" Another siren echoed outside, then came shouting somewhere below the hotel. Daniel rubbed both hands over his face slowly before speaking. "The company is under federal investigation." The room went dead silent. Ava blinked rapidly. "What?" Daniel looked toward her carefully. "They've been investigating financial fraud for almost a year." My stomach dropped instantly. "What kind of fraud?" He laughed weakly under his breath. "The kind that destroys corporations." The air physically left my lungs. And suddenly all the missing money, all the strange transfers, all the legal documents, everything rearranged itself into something much darker. "You used our accounts," I whispered. Daniel didn't answer, which was answer enough. Ava stepped backward like she'd been hit.
No.
Daniel looked exhausted now. They needed clean movement channels. My vision blurred. "You used me? Indirectly." "Indirectly?" I exploded. "You moved illegal money through our marriage?" Ava looked horrified now too. "You told me it was investment restructuring." Daniel closed his eyes briefly. "That's what I needed you to believe." And there it was, the final twist. Ava thought she was manipulating me. Meanwhile, Daniel manipulated both of us. My wife destroyed our marriage chasing wealth and excitement, without realizing she was becoming part of something criminal. The room suddenly felt suffocating. "How much?" I whispered. Daniel looked away. "How much money?" "Around 4 million. Ava physically collapsed onto the couch. "No." My legs felt weak, because this wasn't divorce-level destruction anymore. This was prison-level destruction. Another call hit Daniel's phone. This time he didn't answer. Then came loud pounding somewhere down the penthouse hallway. Hotel security. Or worse. Daniel straightened slowly, and suddenly the billionaire confidence returned slightly. Not because he felt safe, because powerful men rehearse disasters too. "You should leave," he said quietly to me. I stared at him in disbelief. "That's your advice? You were unaware of the transfers." He looked directly at me. "Keep it that way." Ava looked up sharply. "Daniel, you need legal representation immediately," he cut in coldly. The warmth between them was completely dead now. No affection left, just survival. Ava started crying again harder than before. "Oh my God! Oh my God!" I looked at her and felt something strange. Not rage anymore, not heartbreak, just emptiness. Because the woman I married chased a fantasy so aggressively she destroyed herself inside it. And somehow dragged me into the collapse too. The pounding outside got louder. Voices now. Daniel adjusted his suit calmly, then looked at me one last time. "You should go before this becomes public." Public.
Jesus Christ.
News outlets. Investigations. Courtrooms. My entire life was about to become a headline because my wife wanted a richer man. I grabbed my jacket slowly, still trying to process everything. Then Ava suddenly stood and grabbed my arm. "Ryan, please." I looked down at her hand touching me. The same hand wearing the wedding ring she never took off while sleeping with someone else. "What?" Tears streamed down her face uncontrollably now. I never wanted this. And maybe she meant it. Maybe nobody wakes up planning to become the villain in their own life story. But small selfish choices stack over time. One lie becomes 10. 10 become a second life. And eventually you wake up standing in the ruins wondering how everything burned down so fast. I gently pulled my arm away. "You wanted more," I said quietly. "Now you have it." Then I walked toward the penthouse door. Behind me, Ava broke down completely. Not elegant crying anymore. Ugly grief. Real grief. Because the luxury fantasy was over. Daniel wasn't her future. I wasn't her safety net anymore. And the life she chased just turned into a federal investigation. I opened the penthouse door and stepped into the hallway. Chaos echoed from elevators farther down. Security voices.
Rapid footsteps.
The empire was collapsing in real time. But weirdly, for the first time all night, I felt calm. Because none of it was mine anymore. Not the lies. Not the affair. Not the greed. Not the destruction. I walked into the elevator alone while the penthouse doors remained open behind me. And just before they closed completely, I saw Ava sitting on the floor crying while Daniel stood silently near the windows staring out at a city he probably thought he controlled forever. Then the doors shut, and I left both of them behind. Sometimes the worst betrayal isn't cheating. It's realizing the person you trusted most was willing to destroy your entire future chasing a fantasy. If this story shocked you, comment what you would have done, and subscribe because the next story gets even darker.